The Tech Ed Podcast is now over 80 episodes. We are streaming in 104 countries. We are available on 43 podcast platforms. It has been such a wonderful year and a half of success so far, and we are capping off a week at the International Manufacturing Technology Show this afternoon. It is the largest and longest running show of its kind in the Western Hemisphere. Tons and tons of people coming through here, and we are in the SmartForce Student Summit powered by AMT. And we have had, I think we're closing in on 12,000, maybe a little bit more students that have come through here learning about amazing careers in technical education and learning about amazing careers in advanced manufacturing. And it is an amazing time indeed. And we have an amazing guest with us in the form of Catherine Ross. Catherine is the Director of Education and of SmartForce Development for AMT, the Association for Manufacturing Technology. Catherine, so glad to have you with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Matt.
So day 5, can you believe we're already at day 5 of IMTS?
It's been a whirlwind, but my feet feel like day 5. Yes.
Right, yeah, exactly. I was feeling a little bit this afternoon like I think we're now 22 episodes that we've put on this week with the Tech Ed Podcast. We had Greg Jones, of course, one of your cohorts, and Doug Woods was on with us as well earlier today, telling us about all the great things that are happening here at IMTS. AMT, of course, being responsible for the whole show, which you must have been working on this from the end of the last IMTS, fair to say?
Yeah, on average, we spend about 2 years preparing for a show, and in this case, we've had 4.
Wow, yeah, exactly, because we weren't in person the last two years ago, right?
Yeah, so there was a tremendous amount of buildup and anticipation, both from us on the organizing side and from visitors and exhibitors. I think everybody was just really having a blast this week.
It's been, there's just a level of energy here that there always is at IMTS. It only happens every 2 years. You get to see all for us on the education side, all your old friends, but a lot of these folks we haven't seen for 48 months, and so it's really, really good to have everybody back together doing some really unique things. And I know one of the really unique things that you're up to this week is the Women Make Manufacturing move. Tell us a little bit about this.
Yes, so this is an inaugural program for us at IMTS. It is three curated events solely to empower, invigorate, and celebrate women in our industry, particularly women in manufacturing technology.
Sure.
And so we did that with 3 events. First, we had a reception on Monday night to kick off the week.
Okay.
And we chose Monday night because we've heard from women across the industry that sometimes they're the only female in their group.
Okay.
Reporting on behalf of their company.
Sure.
They might not always be invited out to dinner or drinks with the guys.
Huh.
Maybe they're not really interested.
Sure.
Because it's not really,
not their thing, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, and so we wanted to give women at IMTS an opportunity to make connections, not just for the week, but beyond the show as well. So we had a great reception Monday night. Wednesday, we had an excellent luncheon with 3 amazing speakers. We had our keynote, Lisa Block from Hybrid Manufacturing Technologies. She was amazing. I was on the verge of tears.
Really?
I'll be honest.
How so?
She just, she shared a very personal story that she then translated into an awesome presentation on improving company culture.
Okay.
And not just what a company should do and what leadership could do to improve company culture, but also us as employees.
Okay.
How improvements can come from all angles, not just from the top.
For sure.
Following Lisa, we had another Lisa, actually, Lisa Woodruff of Organize 365, who gave some awesome tips on how to just bring order and structure to your life so that you're making the most of your time and hopefully getting some time for yourself as well, because
Sure.
that balance is so important.
Absolutely.
And then Jenny Drescher of the Boulder Company wrapped it up. She was talking all about kind of imposter syndrome and learning how to better recognize your value and your contribution.
What is imposter syndrome?
Oh, it's that feeling of not being quite, that internal feeling, I should say, of not being quite good enough, feeling like you're like, what am I doing here? I'm fooling
like
all
you don't
these
belong,
people.
like you're not having that confidence that you belong in a certain circle.
Mm-hmm.
That is, am I getting that
yeah,
right?
a less than that you feel like just kind of like an imposter.
Okay,
Like you've fooled you fooled everybody by entering the room that you're in, and I think that can be pretty rampant for women in an industry that is so male dominated.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people feel imposter syndrome feelings, but they might not have that title to put on it.
Sure.
So Jenny gave us some great ways to really recognize when we are experiencing what is imposter syndrome and how to start knocking down those walls and working around that and actually diminishing that. Really self-doubt is what it boils down to.
It is, absolutely, yeah. There's no reason that anybody can't be at the table in the world of manufacturing, and especially all the talented women we've seen here this week. You are right. We are in an industry that's dominated by males, and I think one of the most poignant examples of that, and I'm sure you've seen some of this up on LinkedIn this week here at IMTS, is where they show the lines for the bathroom. Have you seen these?
No.
And so there people have posted lines for the bathroom. Now I'm a sports fan. I get to basketball games, football games, whatever. The line for the bathroom is always in front of which bathroom? It's always in front of the women's bathroom, right?
Definitely.
So somebody got a picture this week here at IMTS of like 50 men standing in line for the bathroom, and the women's bathroom was wide open. You could walk right into it, which was a moment for me of, as far as we've come with women in manufacturing, how far we still have to go. And it's something actually that's really important to me. I ran manufacturing companies for 25 years. And I tell people, we had women in the weld booth in some cases, and they were attention to detail, not to stereotype or generalize, but attention to detail, ability to just create works of art in the weld booth. I mean, just incredible talent. I have a daughter who's going into her third year of college right now. She spent last summer working at a precision machining company. So,
Cool.
Working in manufacturing, getting to experience the amazing feeling of looking back over your shoulder at the end of the day and knowing I made all those parts, getting to be around all the amazing people in manufacturing. And I'm actually married to a master's degree engineer. My wife is an engineer. So it's not just something that I preach about. I live women in manufacturing every day of my life, and something that it really, the more diverse we can create, the more diverse environment we can create in manufacturing, the more effective we are at running our businesses, at growing our businesses, at adhering to your earlier point from a lot of different perspectives. It's not just a top-down world, and it shouldn't be just a top-down world. So it sounds like between that dinner that you had on Monday night, the luncheon on Wednesday, a great start to IMTS. You said there were 3 events, right? So as part of this, what's the third?
Yeah, the third is actually in about 2 hours.
Okay.
We're doing a coffee break. It's kind of just a lounge for women and men, of course, to come by, have a coffee, have a snack, put your feet up,
Yep.
and just recharge for a few minutes because we know it's day 5. Everybody knows now that it is a marathon. It's
Right.
not a sprint.
Exactly, yeah, IMTS especially. And some folks have been here, the other thing a lot of people don't realize is that to set up a show like this can take over a week. And so you walk by some of these booths. I mean, for folks that aren't here and you're watching us live on YouTube or listening to the podcast, some of these booths are like 3 times the size of my house. I mean, literally. So there are people here that have been here for going on 2 weeks. It is absolutely a marathon. And there's also kind of a personality or a kind of a cycle to a show, right? So, Monday morning or Sunday afternoon, whenever, everybody's all excited to see everybody. And especially if you're an exhibitor and you've been on your feet the whole week, great opportunity for people to put their feet up, have a cup of coffee, talk a little bit about the diverse opportunities in the world of manufacturing. So you're 2 of those events in. I've got to believe you told us about some of the speakers. You've chatted with a lot of the attendees. What kind of feedback are you getting from the people who have attended?
Oh, really good feedback. Folks really enjoyed the reception. I should add that at the reception on Monday night, we invited representatives from 3 women's-focused organizations in manufacturing to kind of give a 5-minute elevator pitch to the audience.
Fantastic.
So that included women in manufacturing, women in robotics, and women in 3D printing.
Awesome.
So 3 different organizations, they got to make their pitch, and I know at least one of those has a very strong lead for a new member. I won't say which association it was or who the lead is, but it is a major automotive manufacturer.
Oh, wow. That wants to get involved in their organization. So
Yes.
it certainly paid off for them to be here.
Yeah.
For them to be here as well.
Yeah.
Is there a specific moment while you were here, a specific attendee you talked to that attended one of these events that maybe told you a story or shared an anecdote that really stood out to you?
I spoke to someone from an leadership at her company after the luncheon, and she said it was actually the morning after. So it had been, a good 20 hours since the lunch occurred and all our 3 speakers had wrapped up. And she said, I'm still thinking about those speakers.
Oh, really?
And I said, how so? And she said, just little tidbits from their presentations. They've really stuck with me, and it's really making me re-examine how I'm approaching my position in leadership, how I might be able to better empower and reflect on what my workforce, where my workforce is currently, because we did tackle a little bit of the topic of, I hate it to even say it, but quiet quitting.
Okay.
And that, I think it's something that's been around.
Sure.
It's just never had this
retiring on the
cute
job,
name.
we call it sometimes. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of topics that are very relevant, very timely for, again, leadership and employees to hear right now.
Sure.
It's great to hear that it's resonating with really everyone, all job titles.
Yeah, absolutely. It really does feel like we're making progress, and people are starting to understand the importance of creating a well-rounded workforce. And you've been in and around manufacturing for quite some time, and so if you're talking to an industrial employer, you're talking to a machining company, you're talking to a machine tool builder, and they have an interest. They looked at the lines for the bathroom and realized that we're making progress. We still have a long way to go in manufacturing. Well, how do they need to be thinking about enticing or getting more women interested in the manufacturing sector?
Yeah, this might be the only place in the world where the line is longer to the
exactly.
men's room.
Exactly.
I have been benefiting from that. This is my 7th IMTS.
Wow.
So
and it's every 2 years, right? So that's 14 or the 14 years you've been coming to IMTS.
My first show was 2008.
Okay.
And
Wow.
it was actually 1 month after I joined the industry.
Oh, wow. So you're here for 1 month, and then you dive into the largest show in the Western Hemisphere, and
Yes.
just kind of must have been awe-inspiring to walk into this place. Huh?
It was a little overwhelming for the first day or two, because I just had no idea.
Sure.
But it was very inspiring,
Yeah.
and I could tell right away that this was something special, and it was something that I needed to really explore more and dig my heels into a little bit, because it's very cool.
Right.
And that's something that we're trying to promote through the SmartForce Student Summit, that this is just very cool. But when it comes to women and really all non-traditional populations,
Sure.
that is a strategy, that is a business strategy, that is a sustainment strategy. And I mean, businesses need to pivot in this direction.
Sure. Absolutely.
I'm not sure who's going to run their operations and produce their products, because we're running out of people.
Right. Well, yeah, we're running out of people.
Otherwise.
And one of the things that we've seen in our organization, and that I've seen, I serve on several manufacturing boards. I serve on a board of a private equity group, and we make investments in small to mid-sized manufacturing companies. And so we talk about this all the time. And we've had it has been for us an intentional goal in our organization of creating a more well-rounded workforce, a more diverse workforce. And so now we have people coming to us and saying, why did you do it, and how did you do it? And the answer to the why for me is, we're serving, from a standpoint of our customers, a really, really diverse group of people. And it's diverse in, by gender, it's diverse by ethnic background. And so we get a much more well-rounded understanding of our market, of our customers, and of our employees as well, by having that diverse team. And historically, I've been involved in manufacturing operations that have been, central city located or close to the central city, real diverse workforces. And we always had a diverse workforce from the standpoint of ethnic background. Wasn't always diverse from the standpoint of gender, and really started to put a push on that. And it was incredible how much better it made our leadership team. How we had different perspectives. We had the ability to relate to females who are working on the floor, the opportunity to recruit more of them into the world of manufacturing. If I'm a manufacturer, what are the kind of things that I need to be doing, in your opinion, Catherine, to get more women and girls, while they're going through their education pathway, interested in the manufacturing careers?
Yeah, so there's not a one-size-fits-all, for sure, unfortunately.
Right.
But there are a few things that always help.
Right.
So one thing that a company can do is reach out to your local schools.
Okay.
So a really great manufacturing program at a high school or college level should have an advisory council.
Yep.
A collection of industry representatives to guide, inform, perhaps provide donations,
Absolutely.
either cash or materials.
Sure.
In some cases, equipment. There are plenty of shops out there that have an old fill-in-the-blank piece of machinery that they're not using. It's
Sure.
taking up space, and the school could do a lot with it.
Right.
So reach out to your local schools. Don't wait for the schools to come to you, because, I mean, I've never met a teacher who just had this free time
Right.
to go network in the business community, because that's, first of all, that's not probably not the strength of an educator.
Sure.
you
Right.
know?
No, exactly.
So go to the school, open the doors of your facility as well. The majority of manufacturing plants and factories are located outside of the city.
Right.
So even the kids in the suburbs or even in rural, environments, they may be driving past your facility every day and have absolutely no idea
Right.
what's going on in
Absolutely.
there. If you can't necessarily open the doors to your facility like we experienced over the last 2 years, get your marketing team together and make a video.
Great idea.
Not to promote your products, but to promote the experience of working at your company.
Right.
And then if you are located outside of a city, then really think about how your employees arrive at the door every morning to go to work.
Right.
Because there is that last mile kind of phenomenon.
For sure.
Where folks are coming from an urban location, getting to your shop could require a long commute, multiple changes of, trains, buses,
Right.
what have you. So really think about the experience beyond when they punch in and punch out.
Yep, especially in this day and age when people have so many things pulling on their time, trying to be there for their families. They may be taking care of aging relatives. They're trying to manage their social life to some degree, and also some of them going to school and being educated while they're working. And so we really are in an era where we have to be as creative as possible in terms of accommodating employees. Go ahead.
Yeah, and we've heard of companies that actually rework their shift schedule because they hear from parents, women and dads,
Right.
That they need to be home at this hour or this hour because their kids are coming or going from school.
Right.
And that actually became very important over the last 2 years.
It certainly did.
While daycares were closed and whatnot, So really thinking outside of the box as to what the worker experience is like at your organization, your company, and then reaching out to your local schools. Reach out to your local associations. Some of the bigger manufacturing hubs, like around here in Chicago,
Sure.
have regional associations.
For sure.
Others are more state level. Reach out to your associations because they are all doing diversity, inclusion, and equity work, particularly after all the social movements of the last couple of years. They have most likely have projects or programs or potentially even grants
Right.
to assist you, the business community, with spreading your message and recruiting a wider population of your workforce.
That's a really, really good point. I spent quite a number of years in the leadership team of our local metal finishing organization when I was in the metal finishing world for about 10 years. I ran the largest contract finisher in the United States, very, very active in that organization. And you're exactly right. That particular association, it was all about workforce. It was all about training the next generation of the workforce. We had raised quite a bit of money every year and did college scholarships for students who were interested in going into that field, either at the earning a tech diploma, an associate degree, an advanced degree. So really, really important advice for these employers and how they can be more engaged. When it comes to the education side, and be interested in your perspectives on this. We talked to a gentleman at a technical college, Hennepin Technical College in the Minneapolis area, who had done his master's degree work, his thesis on how students and young people choose their careers. And one of the things that he found was that girls especially will start turning off to specific careers while they're in middle school. So, may decide that they don't want to be in manufacturing, don't want to be in the STEM career pathway as early as like 5th, 6th grade. A lot of times we're talking to employers, they're like, we have to get to the high school seniors and get them excited about manufacturing. It's like, no, that's not how it works. You got to get there way early. Are you hearing the same thing in terms of the importance of exposing middle school students to STEM and manufacturing technology at that really impressionable age?
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah.
I when I was a kid, quite a while ago. I remember seeing a Mr. Rogers episode where
Yep.
they went to the Crayola Crayon Factory.
We're probably dating each other, dating ourselves, but absolutely, right?
I know.
Yep.
But it absolutely blew my mind.
Yep.
I loved it.
Yeah.
And then I never saw manufacturing again.
Huh.
In fact, I saw very little outside of the traditional science, math, academic load
Okay.
that you see in a regular elementary school.
Yeah.
So exposure at the middle school level and frankly at the elementary school level
Mhm.
goes such a long way. And it particularly is helpful to be able to see yourself in those mentors or examples and role models that are out there in industry already doing the work. So the more women that are currently in the workforce that can connect with the local school. Another great way to start working on that skills gap or that diversity gap is
Right.
to reach out to your local school and offer to send a technician or an engineer or
Sure.
an operator to the school just to talk to the class for a few minutes.
Great idea.
For a half hour one day. So being able to see yourself in the industry goes a very long way. And then yes, starting at a younger age, we really make an effort here at the Student Summit to reach out to elementary schools.
Right.
I think the majority of our students are still in the high school, middle school range. But high school for a lot of kids is already too late.
Yeah, that's right.
And like you said, they may not have decided what they want, but they know what they don't want.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Really important message there. Again, for educators and manufacturers alike, we have to get these young people excited about these careers in advanced manufacturing at a young age. It's interesting when I was in sixth grade, so I was about 12 years old. Our class took a field trip to a manufacturing company that was actually manufacturing headphones. So it was the Koss headphone company in Milwaukee, and they had we've got these metal bands that go over our heads right when we're doing the podcast, and they were vibratory deburring those bands. So yep, that band right there exactly. So they had them in a big vibe bowl, and I was, for whatever reason, that just stuck with me. I was fascinated with the way that those headphones were manufactured, the way that they were deburring that metal bracket on top. In 12 years after that, 15 years after that, there I was, working in the metal finishing field, and it still sticks with me that we had that tour. That was just one day, and I'm not going to say that day was the reason that I found my way into manufacturing, but it certainly had an influence. So while we're on the topic of influence, I've been influenced by so many amazing technologies here at IMTS, and now here we are on day 5, and so I just for the first time, believe it or not, had an opportunity to walk the show today, because every other day we've been back-to-back with episodes. Have you had an opportunity, I'm sure you have, to walk around the entire IMTS show?
I did a couple laps on Sunday
Okay.
during setup.
Yep.
So I saw a lot of what was coming, but not quite moving yet,
Right.
not quite in action. I have, of course, done several laps around the SmartForce Student Summit, and you could practically call it the robotics and VR
Right.
virtual reality summit, because there's just so much, and there's a different energy in here this year, and maybe
Agree.
it's because it's been 4 years, maybe it's because our exhibitors have really gone to the
They've
next
stepped
level.
it up in a big way. I agree, yeah.
They have, and I just see students all day running around, laughing, smiling, marching straight up to exhibits to get their hands on it. And,
Right.
and the technologies on display, I think for a lot of them, are things that maybe they've seen in a video or photo online,
Right.
but they, likely assumed it was part of a world and a realm that they would never cross paths with.
Exactly.
And it's very cool to know that we're kind of rerouting that path and intersecting with these young people's lives. Today in particular, we have a lot of elementary school age
Right?
kids,
Yeah, I've noticed that.
and you just see their eyes light up, and
Mhm.
it's so inspiring. It can get a little heavy when you're in the doldrums of the manufacturing workforce development world.
Right, yep.
But you leave a week like this with tired feet, tired body, but your heart and your mind are just completely energized.
There's a
And
huge amount of optimism, I think, about the future of manufacturing. And we've had a number of guests tell us this week that, they're now technical jobs. I mean, you're working around this amazing technology, that paradigm of going and working on a production line and maybe turning a wrench or putting a nut on a screw or something, and doing that day in and day out. These are really, really high-tech jobs anymore. And so really evolved into incredible technology, which is exciting to these young people, and you can see it on their faces. The other thing, I think, credit to the exhibitors, in the past, maybe not quite as interactive of opportunities. And this year, really lots of opportunities for the students to actually interact with the technology in a hands-on fashion, which which is fascinating. 2 questions for you in the few minutes that we have left here, Catherine. And the first one is, you've met a lot of people, I'm sure, just a ton of people. You mentioned the person that came to you and said, wow, I'm still thinking about those 3 speakers the other night. You can't say Matt Kirkner. Next to me, who is the most interesting person that you've met here at IMTS this week?
Oh gosh, everybody's fantastic.
Yeah.
There's an energy not just with the students, but all of us grown-ups as well. I think everybody's just really jazzed to be back here. But as a kid who grew up really idolizing Sally Ride,
Yep,
astronaut
that's
Sally
my
Ride.
wife's hero, by the way. Yeah,
Really?
Absolutely.
She was just the coolest.
Yeah.
She still is.
Actually, I believe she just passed away in the last
Yes.
couple of years. But yeah, and absolutely, just an icon.
A
Absolutely.
legend.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll have to go with astronaut Don Thomas.
Wasn't he awesome? Yeah.
He was over here in the NASA exhibit. We were thrilled to add NASA, and actually not just NASA. We actually also have Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, Rocketjet Aerodyne, and Jacobs in
Wow.
the NASA booth with them. So we've
Amazing.
got 4 prime contractors,
Yeah.
all ready to collect resumes, and while also letting kids know these are some of the jobs that are out here. They're really cool. You can send things to outer space.
Right. Absolutely.
But talking to Don and getting an autograph from him
Mm-hmm.
was the coolest thing. I got 6 autographs from him for my nieces and nephews.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then I got 1 more for myself, and they were like, all right, Kat, we might have to start
Yep,
charging you.
Time to move on. Absolutely. Yeah, he actually came by the Tech Ed podcast the other morning, and we spent an hour with him. And just an incredibly gracious, intriguing, fascinating individual.
Yes.
And I'm probably with you. He's right there at the top of the list in terms of amazing people that we've met. So you're an amazing person in and of yourself, and I know that our audience, and especially the young people in our audience, would be interested in some advice from Catherine Ross on, you're a high school sophomore, you're talking to a high school sophomore, and they're asking you for some advice. What advice, this is a question we love asking on the Tech Ed podcast, do you have for that 15 or 16-year-old kid?
I think, and this is a little bit inspired by one of our speakers at the lunch this week, at the Women Make Manufacturing Move lunch, I think I would say, particularly to the young girls, don't be afraid to ask.
There you go.
Because I think we get nervous about putting ourselves out there and having the spotlight and potentially, feeling like you asked a stupid question or
Right.
anything like that. I would say don't be afraid to start asking questions. If there's something that is interesting to you, or you're a little bit curious about it, or you're a little unsure about it, just
Right.
start asking questions. And of the people in your life too, your family, your friends, your teachers. Start getting to know a little bit more about individuals' journeys. I think as kids especially, you kind of take for granted that adults weren't always
Right,
like,
exactly.
we're
Yeah,
not
we
just
were 16 once too, right?
Exactly. And we have some information that we could share and some mentorship that could, even if it's not officially a formal mentorship, we have some guidance that we could provide, and not necessarily steering an individual, but just informing you on
informing, influencing, absolutely,
things work.
inspiring.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love it. Don't be afraid to ask questions. We were not afraid to ask Catherine Ross questions today, and she was not afraid to answer. I know you've got a crazy busy schedule here. Enjoy the last several days, I guess the last 2 days here of the International Manufacturing Technology Show. Catherine, and thanks so much for being with us on the Tech Guide Podcast.
Oh, thank you so much, Matt. We're so happy to have you and Lab Midwest here in the summit. I hope we see you again in 2024.
No doubt you will. It's been a great week.